after this class with the hope that with the understanding you will get from this class, you should be able to solve that question without any much challenge. So let me comment on the assignment. Yes, it's quite encouraging. The responses and the show of understanding was enormous, and I would say that is a very good one. Um, Quite a number of persons submitted through the link. Some submitted as at yesterday night to my WhatsApp. Yes, I acknowledge, and I revert back as appropriate, except for those who sent through the link. I didn't, I only looked at their attempts, and I didn't actually give any feedback. So after this class, part of my slide, the solution is there. You know, there are various approaches to solve some part of the questions. I'm going to share my solution after this class on my slide so that people that didn't attempt will learn from it and improve. Well, yesterday we laid a background that cost volume profit analysis is the study of the effects on future profits of changes in fixed costs, variable costs, sales price, quantity, and mix. Somebody will be asking, what is this mix all about? Mix simply means proportion, a ratio of, let's say, two products. Ratio of product A to product B, ratio of quantity to sales, that is mix. When you have two components in an item, so you're referring to a mix. It means the component is made up of composites. So cost volume profit analysis is a performance management technique used to study the relationship between cost, sales volume, and profit. So what is the importance of these concepts in performance management? It helps businesses to understand how changes in costs and sales levels affect their operating profits. That is the basis of break-even analysis. It enables organization to be able to plan judiciously. With this, you can know your peak period of sales as an organization and be able to plan and estimate target profits that you wish to achieve as an organization. So that is the cost volume profit analysis. So, and the components we mentioned yesterday entails selling price per unit, that is the amount charged to customers per product. And also we have variable cost per unit, that is costs that vary directly with production volume. For example, we have raw materials, and also we have fixed costs. These are costs that remains constant regardless of the volume. For example, we have rents, salaries. They are relatively constant over time. They don't fluctuate every time. And also, we have contribution margin. And we talk about contribution margin. We said this is the difference between selling price and variable cost. That is when you are computing based on one unit. And when you're trying to get the value of contribution, break even in relation to sales, it will be contribution margin. And contribution margin ratio is a percentage of selling price, which is contribution divided by selling price. All this we talked about yesterday, and we said the break-even point is a point where there is neither profit nor loss. And the formula is what? In terms of break-even in units, it is fixed costs divided by contribution margin per unit. In terms of revenue, it will be fixed costs divided by contribution margin ratio. So we talked about all these yesterday, followed by an assignment which shows that you actually followed very well. So tonight we'll pick it up from there to talk about please mute yourself. Mute yourself. It's just simple instruction, please. No, in case you don't know how to use Google Meet, you can just after the class, you ask Google, you understand, on the various functions of Google Meet, how to mute yourself, how to unmute yourself. Yes, so that I'm not here to teach you how to use this device. So, some people don't even know how to use the device. Some people, I can mute everybody, yes, but I don't want to do that now. I did that yesterday, but I think, let me just do that now so that I'll have a smooth ride in the course of my class. If you have anything to say, just use an emoji and if you have a question, put it in the chat box. I don't want obstructions in my class. If you have a question, put it on the chat box. From experience, some people just want their voice to be heard, just want to speak, so that when they are playing the record, they'll say, I'm the one talking. So put your questions in the chat box and don't interrupt the class. So, multi-product break-even analysis. We discovered that some organizations produce multiple products, not just one product. So, for them to determine the break-even, there are various scenarios. Listening to this introduction is very key. There are various scenarios. In some questions, the fixed cost will be a combination, will be shared by both product A and product B. In some questions, product A will have its own peculiar fixed cost. Product B will have its own peculiar fixed cost for it to be produced. In certain questions, you have a combined fixed cost. A combined fixed cost. When you have combined fixed cost, connecting both product A, B, in some scenarios C, the approach is this. Take notes, write it down. The approach is this. For you to get your break-even point, it will be your fixed cost. It will be your fixed cost. It will be your fixed cost divided by weighted contribution margin ratio, where you have a single fixed cost for production. A single fixed cost for production. This is a silent point where question can throw students off. This is a silent point. So I discovered that during the last diet, when I asked one of my students to solve a question on cost volume profit analysis, she was not mindful of the fact that the fixed cost is a whole. The fixed cost is combining both products A and B. So she went ahead to begin to solve using the normal approach of just as we've done yesterday, because in that scenario where you have a single fixed cost for each product, you adopt the approach we used yesterday. even though we have multiple products A, B, and C, but product A is having its own fixed cost, product B is having its own fixed cost. So you solve based on the approach we used yesterday. But when you have a single fixed cost in which you are using that machine to produce product A, you're still using that machine for the production of product B. The approach is what? Is total fixed cost divided by weighted contribution margin ratio. Weighted contribution margin ratio. So I'm going to still show us some steps to solve this. I'm going to show us steps to solve this. So in a question, still on multi-product break-even analysis, you must always watch out for issues of sales mix. In some questions, they will give you what is termed as sales mix. Clearly in the question, sales mix. Sales mix. The sales mix is the proportion of sales of product A and product B. What is the ratio of the two sales in terms of the product? So in some questions, you can be asked to compute break-even points where sales mix are given or where sales mix are not given. So you must be able to deduce that. This is a silent point again. This is a silent point again. So, and sales mix can be in percentage. Sales mix can be in percentage. It can be in percentage of 40% to 60%. It can be 70% to 30%. That is you trying to compare product A and B. Product A can be 70%, product B can be 30%, product A can be 60%, product B can be 40%, product A can be 20%, product B can be 80%. So the ratio of these two products is the sales mix. Sales mix can also be in form of fraction. Take notes. It can also be in form of fraction. For example, it can be 3/10. It can be 7/10. So they will not tell you specifically. You should know. For example, they are giving you ratio of two products, 3:7. 3:7. You should know that if product A is 3, product B is 7, how are you going to determine the mix? It will be 3 plus 7. For you to get the proportion of A, it will be 3 plus 7, which will now be 3/10 multiplied by the total sales. And for product B, it will be 7/10 multiplied by the total sales, depending on the scenario. We'll get to see that as we solve an example now. And also, sales mix can be in form of whole number. You can be giving sales mix expressed in form of whole number. In form of whole number. So take note of this point. Fixed cost can be given for individual products. When fixed cost is given to you for individual products, you solve using the approach that we considered yesterday. Just your fixed cost divided by contribution margin to get the units of break even. Your fixed cost divided by contribution margin ratio to get for sales. Take note of these words. So based on this slide, I put forth that multi-product break-even analysis determines the sales level where combined total revenue from multiple products equals total fixed and variable cost, resulting in net profit number. So it accounts for varying sales volumes, contribution margins, and fixed costs associated with each product. That is by way of introduction. So let's now show the steps. The steps. Let's show the steps to determine the break-even for multi-product CVP analysis. Steps. Steps to determine break-even points. Let's have it abbreviated. Yes. Steps to determine break-even points. Now, number one step, or step one. Step one, you determine the contribution margin for each of the products. Contribution margin for each of the products. By now, everybody should be able to determine contribution margin. Is a song that you continue to sing in most of the topics in performance management. Contribution is what you must know. Even though you don't, most students, even when they don't know anything, they know contribution, which is selling price minus variable cost. So determine the contribution margin for each of the products. For each of the products. And how do you determine that? It is what? Selling price minus what? Minus variable costs. Selling price minus variable cost. That is the first step that you need to do. You need to work on. Step two. Step two, you determine the weighted contribution margin ratio. Step two, determine the weighted. Another word for mix is weight. Weighted contribution margin ratio. Now, how do you determine this? We have it as weighted contribution margin ratio, in acronym CMR, will be what? It will be, let me bring in my so it will be weighted contribution margin divided by what? Weighted selling price. Weighted selling price. Hope you are putting it down. When I bring forth a question, you lead me through the question. So, how do you determine weighted contribution margin? Is another question that you should ask yourself. How do I determine weighted contribution margin? Take notes. You need to know how to determine weighted contribution margin. Weighted contribution margin. How do you determine that? It will be your sales mix. It will be given in a way in the question. So you must read between the lines to know that this is sales mix. To be sales mix or weight, let me put it that way. Sales mix or weight multiplied by what? contribution margin. Multiply by contribution margin. Multiply by contribution margin. That is how to determine your weighted contribution margin. Sales means multiply by contribution margin. I believe you should know how to determine contribution margin. I've been saying that over time. Now, weighted selling price. How do you determine that? Weighted selling price. Weighted selling price is what? Is your sales mix. Sales mix multiplied by what? Selling price. Multiplied by selling price. Sales mix simply means proportion, ratio of between two items, between two products, between two values of sales, the ratio. Now, that is the step 2. Step 3. What do we have to do? Determine the overall break-even points. Overall break-even points in sales. Overall break-even point in sales value. So how do you determine that? It will be fixed costs, that is total fixed costs, to be total fixed costs, divided by what? Divided by weighted contribution margin ratio. Weighted contribution margin ratio. You know, if it is just the normal approach, it will be contribution margin ratio in relation to sales. But now we're trying to look at multiple products. So it will be weighted contribution margin ratio. That is total fixed cost divided by weighted contribution margin ratio. And that is the step 3, what you need to do. And the step 4, having determined the break-even point in sales, you can decide to determine the break-even point for each product. You know, this is the overall break-even point at step 3. So at step 4, based on the ratios, you can now factor in the ratio on the overall break-even to know the portion of product A, to know the portion of product B. Let's show that. So step 4. Determine the break-even point in sales value. For each product. Yes. For each product on the basis of the sales mix. On the basis of the sales mix. So when you do that, step 5, you can also calculate the break-even point in units. you can calculate the break-even point in units. Calculate break-even points in units. And how will you do that? It will be break-even points break-even points based on sales value now. You want to determine the units based on sales value divided by what? The unit selling price. You will be able to determine the units. How much do you sell one in relation to the total sales? You know the number of units you've sold. So divide by unit selling price. So these are the major steps that we need to follow to solve question on multi-product CVP analysis. So I'm going to solve one question now that comprise of two approach, that consists of a scenario where you have to just solve using a single product, and it will now lead us to where we are to solve combining both products. So we're going to look at a question now to do that. Then after I solve this question, I will refer us to a question in the ICANN Study Pathfinder, particularly in relation to our discussion tonight. Then you now have as assignment, solve all the whole questions on CVP analysis in the ICANN Pathfinder. That would be the assignment after this class. The point is, I will not even cajole anybody to submit assignments. If you want to pass, solve all the whole question on CVP after this class. But I'm more concerned about a particular question in which I solved during the revision class last diet. I will look for the year and share the question on the WhatsApp platform. That particular question. Then for other questions, you do well to lay your hands on them and solve. So let's see an example. So somebody will read for us, so that I will not be the only one doing the talking. So Jude, yes, you can read.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Isanlu Industries Limited manufactures two products, rice flour and beans flour. The following data are projected for the coming year. All figures are assumed to be correct. You are required to compute the 1. Break-even sales in Naira for rice flour, assuming that the facilities are not used jointly. 2. Break-even sales in Naira for beans flour, assuming that the facilities are not used jointly. 3. Composite quantity contribution margin, assuming that consumers purchase composite quantity of 60 kilograms of rice flour and 40 kilograms of beans flour. 4. Break-even quantity of both products, assuming that consumers purchase composite 60 kilograms of rice flour and 40 kilograms of beans flour. 5. Composite contribution margin ratio, assuming that a composite quantity is defined as 1 kilogram of rice flour and 1 kilogram of beans flour. 6. Break-even sales in Naira, assuming that rice flour and beans flour become 1 kilogram complement and that there is no change in the company's costs.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for that reading. So the question is clear. Let me come back to this table. Now, you have to look very well What is this table talking about? You must be able to interpret the variables in the cells, rice flour in kg, in quantity, 100,000 kg. In terms of sales value in Naira, 100,000. The implication is, how much is 1 kg? You should know. 100 divided by 100 is 1. 1 times 100 kg will give you 100,000, and that is what you're seeing there. So the question is not asking you to do that, but you should be able to interpret in that light. Yes. For beans flour, cells, 80,000 kg or so, which yield the cells of what? 100,000. So you should know the value of 1 kg. You should know the value of 1 kg in terms of Naira. Then we have fixed cost. You can see different fixed costs now. Different fixed costs. It means for you to produce rice flour, you incur the fixed cost of what? 20,000 Naira. Beans flour, 56,000 Naira. The variable costs for rice flour is 60,000, and for beans flour is 30,000 Naira. Total cost, 20 plus 60 is 80 for rice flour, and for beans is what? 56 plus 30 is 86. The net profit is what? 20,000. So based on my explanation at the beginning of this class, you are required to compute the break-even sales in Naira for rice flour, assuming that the facilities are not used jointly. So I made it clear that where fixed costs are given for individual products, you solve using the approach we adopted yesterday. And how are we going to treat this? I'm just going to show the workings in order not to bore you. I'm not going to be asking too much question, but just follow keenly and get the understanding. And if possible, you solve the question again on your own. Every question we solve in class, try and solve them again on your own. It will help you very well. So solution, you can screenshot the question. So that you won't be asking me. So I'll go back to the question. So screenshot now, so that somebody will not ask me, we can't see the question. You know, and you are doing this over and over again, you know the possible questions that students will ask. So screenshots, you can see it. Let me zoom it now. Screenshots. This is it, the requirement. Screenshot it. Make it bold for you to screenshot. So I think by now everybody should have the question. So let's see what the solution will look like. Present this in a table. So please, in case you have a laptop, as a form of encouragement, try and be solving some of these things using Excel or your Microsoft Word. And in case you are not too good in typing, please try and improve on your typing skills. I know those days we used to use Mavis Beacon to learn how to type. I don't know if it is still available, but I know it will be there. So please, we don't know the dimension. It can be digital. Yes, the exams can be digital. Yes. So please, so that you not start saying these people are wicked. They just want you to be a digital accountant. And I want to say, please, whenever I give assignments, don't use Chat GPT for my assignments. Don't be a chat GPT chartered accountant. So when you've passed your exams, if you like, you can use it to aid your work in your office. Fine. But as far as this exam is concerned, you must know it. During the revision class, some students were encouraging themselves, just go and put the question on ChatGPT. Maybe in the exam hall, it's ChatGPT that will come and help you to write the exams. You need to understand the concept. So just put the question, ChatGPT will. I know ChatGPT can give you the guide. You can even solve it correctly, yes. I know very well. But preparing for these exams, please know it. Do it by yourself. And in some strange area, you can consult. Yes, it's fine. But don't just depend solely on that. During the exam, few hours with the exam, so just be putting all the question on chat GPT. Even when you put the question on chat and GPT, you still need to study and analyze. That is one thing. So, yes, solution. The requirement one, that we should determine what break-even sales in Naira for rice flour, assuming that the facilities are not used jointly. So, requirement one. That we are to determine what break-even sales. Break-even sales in Naira. Break-even sales in Naira for rice flour. For rice flour. So how are we going to do this now? The formula for break-even sales is what? Fixed costs divided by what? Contribution margin ratio. You know, we're talking about sales now. If you're talking in units, it should just be contribution margin. So we are solving it using this approach because that the facilities are not used what? Jointly. The facilities are not used what? Jointly. And that is why we are adopting this approach. When the facilities are used jointly by rice and beans flour to produce rice and beans flour, the approach will be different. Take notes. So now, from the question, the fixed cost for rice is what? Can I get a response, please? It's solution time. The fixed cost is what? 20,000. And the contribution margin ratio will now be what? Contribution margin ratio. Be what?
0.4.
Fine, 0.4. How did you get that? Somebody is asking.
The selling price minus variable cost divided by the selling price.
Fine. So let's show it. Let's show it. Everybody are now on the same page. So contribution margin ratio is equal to what? 100,000 is the selling price. Please, we know your audio is disturbing. Just mute yourself. So 100,000 minus the variable cost is what? The variable cost
60,000.
60,000.
60,000.
Fine, 60,000. When you do the subtraction, you get what? You get what?
40,000.
40,000.
Divide by what?
By
100,000.
100.
Divided by 100,000.
100,000. Fine. You have what?
0.4.
0.4.
Fine.
0.4.
So To get the break-even sales in naira for rice flour, it will be 20,000 divided by what? 0.4. You have what?
0.4.
You have
50,000.
50,000 naira. Take note of this. Everybody should know how to solve this. Everybody should know how to solve this. It's very clear enough. That's why I'm putting the workings here. Workings, so that I will not get questioned. Why are we having this here? Workings. 2. The question is asking us to do what? Break even sales in naira for beans flour, assuming that the facilities are not used jointly again. Same approach. Somebody should have gotten the answer by now. Break even sales in naira for beans flour. Still same, fixed costs divided by contribution margin. Now, in terms for beans, the fixed cost is what?
56,000.
Now, the contribution margin ratio will be what? Let's show it here to avoid too many questions. It will be what? Still 100,000 minus what? Minus 30,000, right? You have what here? You have 70,000. So divide by 100,000.
0.7.
So you have it as what? 0.7. So at this point, contribution margin is what? 0.7. The result will be what?
80,000.
80,000.
So, but the selling price for beans is different from rice.
No, they are the same.
Sells 100 for rice flour, sells 100 for beans flour. This is kgs, sir. This is quantity. This is quantity. Do you get, sir?
Yes, yes.
3. You have to open your eyes now. Composite quantity contribution margin. Composite. During our days or in secondary school, talking about various types of demand, telling you about complementary demand, joint demand, story. Now, what is composite demand? Let me even ask. I know I have enough graduates here. I even have economists here. Composite demand.
It refers to a demand that has multiple uses. Demand for a product with multiple uses.
Such as? Yeah, somebody
Milk.
All right.
Such as milk.
Okay,
flour that we're using. Flour can be used for beans, for bread, for puff,
And cocoa.
Crude oil.
Since milk too can
Cassava
be used
oil.
for cornflakes, baking,
Cassava can be used for
etc.
All right, thank you very much for that. Yes, it's good to always reflect back, to build on past knowledge. So composite demand, as you have said, refers to demand for a good that has multiple different uses. So when a product is demanded for various purposes, it is said to have or to be a composite demand. So now in this case, that composite quantity contribution margin, we have to determine that. Assuming that consumers purchase composite quantity of 60 kilograms of rice flour and 40 kilograms of beans flour. It means this is a joint demand. Both rice and beans flour were jointly demanded. So the proportion of rice is 60 kilograms. The proportion of beans is 40 kilograms. So how do you determine the quantity contribution now? The composite quantity contribution. Let's see how to do that. Let's see how to do that. Composite. So for this, let me just write composite quantity contribution. So let me say at this point, I have rice. I have rice. I have beans here. Yes, I have beans. Let me now say I have total here. Let me present it this way. So now, for us to do this, the question is saying that what? The question is saying that we should determine what? Composite quantity contribution margin. Contribution margin. Now, for you to determine contribution margin, what is the formula? What is the formula? Contribution margin. Please, if you have a question,
Price minus
the chat box, please. Don't as you don't
Selling
read up,
price minus variable cost.
selling price minus variable cost. Very fine.
Variable cost.
Selling price minus variable cost. Good. Now, we want to determine the unit contribution. The unit contribution in terms of the contribution per unit. Per unit for rice flour and beans flour. So now, the question is, for you, what is the value of the sales price for 1 kg of rice? Sales price.
1 naira.
Fine, 1 naira. Somebody is asking, how do we derive 1 naira? I've stated that before, but this is it. You made a sales of 100,000. How much is 1 kg? 100,000 divided by what? 100,000 naira divided by what? 100,000 kg.
500.
You get 1. Please, I've stated before, if you don't know how to use Google Meet, don't disturb us with raising up of your hand. I said, put your question in the chat box. Adepoju, please put your question in the chat box. Because it's as if you are just joking with the button on your device. So she is still doing that. Put your question in the chat box, please. So now we have it as 1 naira. The value of beans, 1 kg of beans is what?
1
1
naira.
naira 25 kobo.
Fine, 1 naira 25 kobo. 100,000 naira divided by the quantity sold, which is 80,000 kg. 100,000 divided, you have 1.25. So you have it as 1.25. 1.25. So what will be the total sales price? You add 2.250. Now, for variable cost, let's go for variable cost. Variable cost per unit will be what? Variable cost per unit. I'm pressing my calculator. Somebody should press.
0.6 for rice.
0.6.
Fine. 0.6. Somebody is still all right. Fine. Thank you. Somebody is still wondering, how did we get 0.6? See it. 60,000 is the money. Is the ego. 60,000. How many did you produce? And what you produce 100 kg or you sold 100 kg. What is the variable cost you incur to be able to make these sales? You incur 60,000. So if you want to know the unit value in terms of variable cost you incur for 1 unit, to be this 60,000 divided by 100,000 kg. So you have what? 0.6. Same applies to beans flour too. So take notes. Take notes. We'll do it slowly so that there will be no much question. So now, variable cost 0.6 for rice and for beans is what?
0.375.
0.375.
So the total will be what? The total
0.96.
is 0.96.
0975.
Approximate.
So now, based on this, can you determine the unit contribution? What is contribution? Sales price minus variable cost, right? So unit contribution will be what? Unit contribution
0.4 for rice.
0.4 for rice.
0.4 for this is what? Please,
0.87.
if your environment is noisy, just mute yourself. So we have the total will now be what?
1.275.
1.275. These are the unit contribution. The question is still saying that calculate composite quantity contribution margin, assuming that the consumers purchase composite quantity of 60 kilograms of rice. And so this proportion now is telling you I'm the sales mix. I'm the sales mix. So the sales mix in relation to each of these is what? Sales mix. For rice is 60%. For beans is what? Is 40%. Overall is 100%. Now, based on the formula I presented earlier on, to determine contribution margin, it will be what? If you followed very well. To determine contribution margin.
Weighted contribution margin over weighted selling price.
Yes. It is sales mix multiplied by what? Contribution margin.
Margin.
So based on this now, your sales mix is what? 60% for rice. For beans is what? 40%. So what would be the contribution margin? The composite contribution margin. Who can try? It will be, it's very simple now. There is no any big deal
So
here.
be 60 over 100.
0.4.
0.6 times 0.4.
0.4 multiplied by 0.6. And
Yeah.
this will give us what?
0.24.
0.2.
What? 0.4. Wow.
0 point.
Yes, okay, it's fine.
It's going to give us 0.24.
0.875 multiplied by what?
Oh, I'm not sure.
multiplied by 0.
0.5.
To give us what?
I'm not seeing your screen, sir.
0.328.
0.3348.
0.33.
No.
Let me use my calculator.
0.348.
0.35.
Don't worry, I will get it myself. So I have 0.875 multiplied by 0.40, 0.35, 0.35 plus 0.24, 0.59. Now, this is it. So the composite contribution margin, composite contribution margin, let me leave it this way, will be what? The composite contribution margin will be the addition of rice contribution margin and beans contribution margin. So we have it as what? 0.24 plus 0.35. It will give us what?
0.5.
0.59.
0.59. So this is where the whole story changed. The whole story has changed now. It has changed. Yes. You know, we are now working based on the fact that everything is joint. Is joint. Joints. So now, when you want to solve further, your contribution margin, if you want to get break even, as we solve further, your contribution margin will be 0.59 because you are now combining both product fixed costs. Let's see that. That's break for the next question requirements, break even quantity of both products. Compute the break even quantity of both products. See it now, both, not individual as we've done here, of both products. See it now. Assuming that consumers purchase composite 60 kilograms of rice flour and 40 kilograms of beans. You see, the assumption is still based on what we've done in what? In C. In C. But now, what will now happen? You know, each have their individual fixed cost. So what will be the concept now? What will happen to fixed cost? Anybody to help? What will happen to fixed cost?
You add both
We
together.
add the both fixed costs.
Fine, fine. You add both fixed costs together. You add both fixed costs together. And based on the formula we presented earlier on, how do you get break-even points in sales value under multiple products? Under multiple products, this is it. Total fixed cost divided by what? Weighted
Contribution margin ratio.
Fine. In which we've determined the weighted contribution margin ratio, which is a composite contribution margin. Now, to solve for D, break even quantity of both products, assuming that consumers purchase composite 60 kilograms of rice flour and 40 kilograms of beans flour, which is based on what we've done in C. So we don't need to crack our brain about 60 kilograms, the sales mix again. We've already determined the contribution margin. So what we have to do is to present our formula and make substitution and substitute. and substitute and get our answers. So four. Break-even point for both products. Break-even points for both products. What are those both products? You know them. That is beans or rice flour and beans flour. So the formula is what? Total fixed costs. Total fixed costs divided by what? Divided by what? Weighted
Consumption margin ratio.
weighted CMR. Yes. So now, the total fixed cost will be what? The total fixed cost, let's go to the question. Fixed cost for rice is what? 20. For beans is what? 56. The addition of these two will give you the total fixed cost, which will be what?
76,000.
76.
20,000 plus. Let me write it. So somebody will ask me, how did we get 76? So I don't want that question. So when you add it, you have what? Equal to what? 76,000. So when you substitute this 76 into total fixed cost, I'm taking it gradually. 76,000 as the total fixed cost divided by what? The
0.59.
0.59.
Yeah, 0.59. Somebody will ask me, how did we get 0.59? This is it. This is the step here. Like here, see it. Ewo. Kunganiko.
Okay.
You know, there are some questions that I don't want students to ask me. So let me show it very well. So when you come back and ask me, I will know you are not paying attention. You know, you are at the comfort of your home. So one of our tutor will say, oh, nobody is rubbing your head and to give you inspiration. So follow well. Don't tell anybody not to disturb you. So now we should calculate break-even point for both products. Yes, so the break-even point is what? Is 128,814. Break-even.
614.
Yes. Now we should calculate the break-even. The break-even point. Break-even quantity. Break-even quantity. Yes. Sorry, this is just weighted contribution margin. Weighted contribution margin, not contribution margin ratio, please. Weighted contribution margin. Please take note of that, please. Since we are computing for units, if you check the question, it is break-even quantity for both what? Products. Quantity. So the formula is not margin ratio now. It's just contribution margin. Contribution margin. So now, looking at this, if the break-even point is in kg, what is the percentage of rice in this kg? Who can help me out? What is the proportion of rice here?
60%.
60% of
60%. 60% of what?
of 128,814.
128,814.
814. So the value will be what?
77,288.
288.
0.4. 0.4.
Okay, 0.4. Okay. 0.4. All right, please put the right value. Yeah, I don't have time now. For beans, it will be what? 40%, right?
40%, yes.
Yeah.
Multiply by 128.
814
kg. And the result will be what?
51,525.6.
Okay, let's make it
I do
5.
back one count.
So now, that is the break-even point for both products in terms of kg. In terms of kg. Now, let's see. Let's see what next we have to do. Now, we should calculate composite contribution margin ratio. Composite contribution margin ratio. Composite contribution margin ratio. Composite contribution margin ratio. Now, how do we determine the contribution margin ratio? For both now, for both. How do we determine the contribution margin ratio for both? Now, the total contribution is what? The total contribution is what?
1.25.
0.59.
275.
The total contribution is
1.275.
1.275.
fine. The total sales price is what?
2.250.
2.250.
Good. Good. So it will be what? The unit contribution. You know, contribution is selling price minus variable cost.
Yeah.
Now, contribution margin ratio is selling price minus variable cost divided by what?
Selling price.
By selling price. So now, since we have the contribution already in form of total here, what will now be the contribution margin ratio? So
1.275 divided by 2.25250.
very good. So contribution margin ratio will be what? Contribution. Let me make it clear. Total contribution. Total contribution per unit. Divide by what?
Total sales price per unit.
So when you do the substitution, you have what? You have
1.275 divided by 2.250.
2.250. So the result
0.567.
0.567.
1.275.
So when you are solving in the exams, please always follow a consistent approximation. If you are using 2 decimal places, maintain that. If you are using 3 decimal places, maintain that, please. Please take note of that. So this is the composite contribution margin ratio. Composite contribution margin ratio. The last one is what? You are required to compute the break-even sales in Naira, assuming that rice flour and beans flour become 1 kilogram complement and there is no change in the company's costs. So it means that the combined products, break-even sales in Naira, assuming that rice flour and beans flour becomes 1 kilogram complement and that there is no change in the company's cost. It means that both products combined together, what will be the break-even point in Naira? What will be the break-even point in Naira? 6. Break-even points in Naira. The result is what? Is a very straightforward thing. It will be your total fixed cost. Total fixed cost divided by what? Divided by what? Composite
Contribution margin ratio.
contribution
Divided by
margin ratio.
contribution ratio.
Not just contribution, but contribution margin ratio, which is 0.567. And the result will be what?
76,000 divided by 0.57.
The result will be what?
134038.
038.
134.038. 134.038.8. 134.038.8. 134.038.8.
Okay, 03.
8.8.
All right.
One 134.038.8.
That's strong. Bro.
Yes,
Okay.
134.038.8.
All right, let me just go that way. But if I'm to solve it, don't mind me. I'm offering my lumps log. That is why it's So this is the concept, the approach you have to use to solve multiple products. So I'm trying to get the question in the Pathfinder. Let me see if I can access the question very fast in the Pathfinder so that you will look at it, then you go and you see what it entails. It's not complex. Once you follow what we've done, you will get it. Is it performance management? I can. So sorry, please. If you have the Pathfinder very close to you, maybe in soft copy, let me see. You can check May 2021. Let me see. May 2021. May 2021. Let me see if I can get the question. All right, in case I will forward the question to the WhatsApp group. With this knowledge, you should be able to solve that question. And I will forward the past question guide to the platform. So you solve all the whole question on CVP analysis, on cost volume profit analysis before the next class. I might not be available next week. I'll be available, but I might not be the one to take the class. Mr. Abubakar will will take the class. Okay, yes. I think somebody said Chikodili, yes. May 2022, question 5. May 2022, question 5. Please solve the question. Solve the question, and I will forward the link for you to send the answer there. I'll forward the link at least between now and tomorrow evening. Yes, between now and tomorrow evening, try and solve that question. Now, please don't mind that I'm pushing you like this. If you don't solve questions, to me, we are not actually doing anything. So you have to solve that question. I solved the question during the revision class. So I want everyone to go and solve it. Go and attempt it based on this knowledge now, and see what you can do with that question. So it is very important. So I might not be the one to take the class next week, but when next I'll be coming, I'll be treating the topic limiting factor. Limiting factor. Then from limiting factor, I will move to linear programming. Then most likely on Friday, Mr. Adebowale will take the class. He might take the class. And I know he usually take these aspects of the syllabus, activity-based costing. He usually take relevant costing, transfer pricing. Yes, those aspects, he do take them during the normal class, yes. And it was not available during the last revision, so that is why I took most of those topics. But in order not to load my head too much, so we'll spread it so that everybody will be fine, so that I can attend to other things too. So if you have any question, just let me know. You can bring up your question in case you have a question. But I think what we've solved, we've moved very slowly. So we've actually hit the time. So if you have questions related to what we've done tonight, you can speak up. So if you don't have questions, that's assignment, May 2022 question 5. I want to see it at least by 5 p.m. tomorrow. Everybody should have solved it. Then before weekend, everybody should have solved the whole question on CVP. If you want to pass this diet, solve CVP, the whole question on CVP. All questions on limiting factor, when I come, we'll treat that one. All questions on limiting factor, go and solve it. That is after we've treated it. After we've treated that. Yes, I can see some persons asking questions and I can see response to those questions. So, Afsat Sabiu, you have a question? Afsat?
Yes, sir.
So, what is the question?
Yes, sir, I do. So, the entire question changes the moment, assuming, let's say, we are being asked for 2 kg, something like that, or 3 kg of beans flour and 1 kg of rice. Everything changes in the solution we have done. Everything comes down to the nature of the question, right? It does not have to be all the time 1 kg, 1 kg, just like, I don't know if you get my question.
Yes, depending on the question, it's the question, you allow the question to lead you. Yes, the question will lead you to what to do. So it might not always be in kg. Yes, it can be in any other form. So you just follow the tone of the question and be fine. I can see a hand, prepaid meter customer. Prepaid meter customer. Can you speak? Your hand is up. Prepaid meter customer. All right, maybe the hand is is up in error. So please do well to solve the question. We'll meet when next. I will send the past question guide and I will send my slide to you on the platform. So we'll meet next time. Yes, so this diet, you might not be having me much. We have other tutors that will be coming up.
Hello,
Yes.
brother. What
Yes,
year do you say we should do, sir? What year and what question, sir?
May 2022, sir, question 5.
God bless you, sir.
Amen, sir.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry, although my area, the network has been so poor, most of the time I don't hear most of the things for some time, for some minutes. I will not be able to hear so many things because of my network. But please, I want to ask, please, are you going to drop the example for us on our WhatsApp group, please, as we did yesterday?
I'm going to drop this my slide. Then the solution to the assignment I gave yesterday is also in my slide. So I will forward my slide to you on the platform, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Then the recordings, I think maybe I'll forward yesterday's recordings to the platform too. Then today's recording, once it drops in the mail, I will forward to. Yes. So all will be fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank God, sir. All right. See you when next I come again. Have a pleasant night.
Goodbye, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. God
Thank you,
bless you,
sir.
sir.
Good night, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
At least you can
Good
solve
night,
enough
sir.
pressure.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.